Good morning, everyone, and welcome to another regular meeting of the Board of Estimate and Apportionment for Tuesday, July 30th, 2024. Ms. Shannon Davis, please call the roll.
Mayor Jones,
Present.
Comptroller Green,
Here.
President Green,
Present.
all are present.
Thank you. Our agenda is as follows. Items presented for the first time. Item number 1, request from the Comptroller's Office for approval of contracts and leases for various city departments as listed on Exhibit A. Item number 2, request from the Comptroller's Office for approval of transfers between projects for capital improvement funds as listed on Exhibit C. Item number 3, request from the Office of the Mayor, Director of Operations for approval of the attached invoice for the African American Mayors Association annual dues in the amount of $15,000. Item number 4, request from the Office of the Mayor, Director of Operations for approval of Board Bill number 66, an ordinance providing the execution and delivery of an amended and restated maintenance cooperation agreement between the City of St. Louis and Forest Park Forever Incorporated. Item number 5, request from the Budget Director for the following changes to their table of organization. Delete 1 budget analyst position and add 1 budget analyst position. Item number 6, request from the Director of Streets for the following changes to their table of organization. Delete 1 Deputy Commissioner for Refuse position, Fund 1000, add 1 Human Resources Manager position, Fund 1000. And item number 7, request from the Director of Health for the following changes to their table of organization. Delete 1 Accounting Coordinator position from Fund 1110 and add 1 Accountant position for Fund 1110. I'd also like to amend item number 1 to remove, there's an error in the list of contracts. We need to remove item number 48 from the list of contracts in item number 1, or item number 1 on the agenda, which is the attachment, believe Exhibit A. So I am making a motion to amend Exhibit A to remove number 48 from the list of contracts.
Second.
That's been properly seconded. Now I'll entertain a motion to accept the agenda as amended.
Well, Madam Mayor, we should vote on the amendment.
I'm sorry. Would like to, all those in favor for amendment number 1, please vote aye. Ms. Shannon Davis, please call the roll.
Mayor Jones,
Aye.
Comptroller Green,
Aye.
President Green,
President Green.
Looks like her screen is frozen.
And looks like she's trying to join again. President Green, oh, and she's gone.
Oh, wow. AI at work. Or is it something else?
Our internet seems to not be working well on this side of the building today. So I'm on Jay's computer, but now the video won't work.
We're waiting for your vote, President Green. President Green?
Aye.
Okay, there we go.
all are in favor.
All are in favor. Now I'd like to entertain a motion to adopt the agenda as amended.
So moved.
She frozen again? She is frozen again.
Oh, Lord.
We can't hear you, President Green. President Green,
Okay, now I can hear you. Sorry.
are you seconding the comptroller's motion?
Yeah. Motion.
Okay. It's been moved and properly seconded. Ms. Shannon Davis, please call the roll.
Mayor Jones,
Aye.
Comptroller Green,
Aye.
President Green,
Aye.
all are in favor.
All right. Thank you. Is there any additional business to discuss?
Madam Mayor, if I may,
Yes, ma'am.
we have some very important proposed charter changes that's being heard at the Board of Aldermen that I wanted to bring to the attention of the Board of E&A today, if I may.
Yes, ma'am.
Those board bills, I'll list them out. There are 9 of them. Board Bill 30, which I did understand has passed. Board Bill 60, Board Bill 61, Board Bill
Hey, come use mine because you're
71,
frozen.
Hello?
Board Bill
Hello?
72, Board Bill 73, Board Bill 75, Board Bill 76, and Board Bill 77. Some of these proposed changes, honorable board members, have been submitted by the Charter Commission, and some have been changes that are submitted by the Board of Aldermen. And I wanted to go on record to commend the hard work of the Charter Commission for the months that they put into this work. And while I acknowledge that there was a huge amount of deliberations regarding these charter changes, I wanted to stand in opposition, as I have done in committee at the Legislative and Rules Committee. The proposed changes do not improve the city's financial position. They do not improve the city's credit rating. They do not improve the city services. They do not improve public safety. And that's a really strong point I wanted to make. We really need stronger public safety for our citizens throughout the entire city. And in addition, they create more bureaucracy in city government. For example, the proposed public advocacy office, honorable board, is redundant. That proposed office would do is proposed to do those duties that are already existing in government, such as audit, which is performed in my office. We perform internal audit, which include operational audits as well as financial. That office, the proposed office, would take duties from that in order to make it relevant. The office itself is non-essential. It's a non-essential office that would add an enormous amount of additional costs to our annual operating budget. I also wanted to bring to your attention that there was a public opinion piece that was offered to the Wall Street Journal about 3 weeks ago or so, July 10th, I believe the date. And it concluded that the office was harmful to the city of New York, which that particular city is the only city with the public advocate in it. The voters in other cities have voted it down. For example, San Francisco voted it down just this past November. So I offered this to our honorable board today because we want to make sure that we are serving our citizens with what their needs are. We have a population of citizens in our city, as you know, honorable board, that have chosen to live here And we want to do those things that are helping the quality of life for those citizens, whether it is helping them to improve their homestead, or whether it's to improve the roads, to improve the picking up of trash in the community, trimming empty lots. Those are the things that our tax dollars need to be expended on, and not an office that is redundant and that is non-essential. And of course, picks up other duties that are already performed. For example, the legal office already performs legal services, and this offices, if it is enacted, would be able to employ lawyers, which those kinds of legal costs threatens to reduce city services, because as you know, when you hire a legal, have legal expenses, we can't control those kinds of costs. I understand that there is a committee substitute that has been submitted. That committee substitute further erodes the ability of the city to control its costs, because it doesn't offer how those costs for that particular department can be determined. So I just wanted to bring that to the attention of this honorable board, because we have the duty to protect tax dollars, and we have the duty to recognize what is right in our city. And speaking of that, Madam Mayor, I just, thought about it, and I did see that you were making comments earlier, and I want to thank you. What is right about the city, and that is that we just had our credit rating increased. Our credit rating has been increased from an A, and for the first time in most recent history, I would say in the last 50 years. I've been in city government now for more than 30 years, with my 2 years beginning with the budget directors, as then into the comptroller's office. That takes me over 30 years. And I know that 20 years prior to that, we were not a double A. We are now a double A credit. And I think that is to commend the budgeting policies of the budget office, where we have strong budget policies that would ask that the Board of Aldermen would, while they're able to reduce the budget when it's passed over to them, when they want to add, which they have the right to add, they would then come back to the Board of E&A. And that gives us a very strong check and balance for our citizens. They deserve to know that the policies that are in place in city government have their best interest at heart. So that is in place, and the rating agencies have recognized that. They have given us a quote unquote triple A on just our budgeting policies. They've called it resilience. And so I just want to commend our budget director for continuing to fight for the budgeting policies. I do know he entered his opinion to the Rules Committee on any kinds of charter change that would cause or harm to our credit. We don't want to harm our credit by changing the charter. So we want to make sure that we make this known, that we are fighting, that the budget director is fighting with me and all of my staff of the comptroller's office. My staff actually brought to my attention Board Bill 30. When that was brought to my attention, I did speak out. I sent a letter to the mayor immediately. So I am doing what I can to fight for good credit. That is what is good with the city. The city's good credit. Having a double A and not ever having that in the most recent history is extremely important. And so I wanted to make the comment. I wanted to take the time out to speak about what's good with city government, and that is a double A. AA credit is great. That means that the cost to our taxpayers when we're borrowing on their behalf is going to be much lower. And the hard work to sustain that kind of good credit continues to go forward for this city to have a brighter future. And that's what it's about, fighting for our future and fighting to keep good credit in our future and not looking at short-term relief for charter changes that have been misguided. These are misguided changes that are being presented. And I want to make that really clear to our citizens that these charter changes that would cause the city to spend more on redundant offices or to change budget policies that we have been highly rewarded for having from our rating agencies, recognizing that what we're doing in city government is meaningful, and it's so meaningful that they have upgraded our credit to a AA.
Thank you, Comptroller Green. Are there any other items to discuss?
Yes, if I may say a little bit as well. Thank you, Comptroller Green, for your comments. I do agree that we must honor the will of our constituents and citizens in the city. And I think one of the ways that we do that is by abiding by the rules of the Charter Commission that was established by voters with a 60% margin in the city. As many of you know, we never intended for these articles or these proposals of the Charter Commission to come through the Board of Aldermen. Rather, the idea when the Charter Commission was passed through the Board of Aldermen and approved by voters in this city was that the Charter Commission would be able to put those recommendations directly on the ballot without having to go through the political forces of elected officials and the Board of Aldermen. Because we know that sometimes our own political interests, our own self-interest sometimes can get in the way of what residents of our city want to see. And this was an opportunity to have them weigh in directly, yes or no. And so I would say that the best way for us to honor our constituents is to allow the process to play out, to not be gatekeepers in this moment, but to rather abide by the original intent of the Charter Commission to put these measures on the ballot and allow our residents to weigh in up or down between now and November. And I am sure that every single one of us will be out there campaigning for and against the ones that we like or don't like. But I think that we really owe it to the residents of this city who did approve the Charter Commission overwhelmingly to give them the opportunity to vote on whether they agree with the recommendations that the Charter Commission brought forth or not, and not simply stop the discussion on these items without allowing for that process to finalize. And so our goal at the Board of Aldermen is to make sure that these items get to the ballot so that our residents do have that opportunity to have democracy play out as was intended in the original legislation that was passed through the Board of Aldermen, signed by the mayor and approved by 60% of the voters in this city. So I appreciate all the comments, and there will be a ton of time for us to be out there campaigning for and against all of these items. But in the meantime, I think that we must abide by what is currently in the charter and working to get these items on that November ballot, regardless of whether we agree with them or not. Thanks.
Madam Mayor, may I?
Yes, ma'am.
I did hear the chair, the president of the board, and while I respect her comments, I would respectfully say that our voters, our citizens deserve better than what Madam President is offering. She is offering them to campaign or to listen to campaigns about the Charter Commission's submitted changes when she has not mentioned anything about the good credit of the city. In particular, Board Bill 30, which was not submitted by the Charter Commission, Board Bill 30 was submitted by an alderman. It was a terrible fight during the commission as to know whether they would submit it. They finally did determine that they would, but it was only after Board Bill 30 was submitted by an alderman, an honorable alderman. And so I wouldn't use the word political, but the president of the board has used that term. And so it appears to me, I could be wrong, that it was a political move to move in front of the Charter Commission's recommendations to have Board Bill 30 entered by an alderman in front of, very early in May, in the month of May, while all other submissions by the Charter Commissions were submitted 2 months after. Now, I put that on the record, and the record can be seen on the websites. The website of the Board of Aldermen itself will show when, in fact, Board Bill 30, which is the add to the budget of the city's budget, these asking that particular charter change would have the Board of Aldermen add without any further approval. Right now, there's a reduction without further approval that the board has. And that's very powerful, that the board can reduce the budget without any further approval. And now they also want to add, which means they want to forego discussion. Foregoing discussion with the Board of E&A, I don't think that's a wise decision when it comes to the city's credit. And after all, it's about taxpayer dollars in the end. It's not about seeing through those changes that have come before us that just happen to be misguided. These are misguided changes that would cause a problem which we do not want, and that is to change our credit rating. We don't want to move backwards for credit. We have worked hard to sustain A category credit for 30 years. We sustained it. Now we've got a double A credit, and it's not a laughing matter to have good credit. What it is reducing the cost of our taxpayers. When a taxpayer sees on their ballot, or a voter sees on the ballot, a no tax increase bond issue that they can vote for that does not raise their real estate taxes, that tells them that the city of St. Louis has good credit. And we've been doing no tax increase bond issues for the last 10 years plus, because we're able to sustain a credit rating that allows us to do that. And now we are going to double A. With the population in this city under 300,000, and the largest indicator for credit, good credit, is a large population, meaning that there's a strong tax base of homeowners. That's how St. Louis County has its AAA. St. Louis City does not have the million residents that St. Louis County has. It does not have the higher double-digit percentage in their budget for the taxing real estate taxes. We don't have that. We have the earnings tax, as you know, which is in jeopardy at the state legislature on a regular basis. So how do we get to, can you imagine how we got to a higher credit? Well, it's because of policies that have been in place for 30 plus years. Hard fought for policies, I might add. And those policies have been sustained. And so with the simple charter change that could change that, I have to say no. I have to fight on behalf of taxpayers when elected officials won't. I have to say no to charter changes that would change and take us backwards for credit rating increases. We deserve the AA that we have just earned, and I believe it's worth fighting for. So letting a political theme, as you will, Madam President, play out, it's not fair to our taxpayers. It's not fair to our voters. Vote for lower taxes when it comes to paying out when we issue bonds for our police equipment, for our fire trucks. Vote for those taxpayers not having to pay extra. Vote for lower costs when it comes to issuing these bonds on behalf of public safety. As a matter of fact, vote for public safety and not for these charter changes. The one is to add the vote, have the board to add a vote for adding. The other one, public advocacy, which is an enormous additional cost to our operating budget. So no, I disagree with you on your points about allowing it to play out, but I agree that the Charter Commission was established. The Charter Commission should be lauded for changing the pronouns of the charter, but the charter should not be changed in order to affect the credit in a negative way. And I've pointed out that Board Bill 71, which is the public advocacy, would do that. Board Bill 30, which has passed, would affect our credit in a very negative way. Paul Payne, without my even asking, took a liberty to write up a white paper, if you will, on the harm that Board Bill 30 would cause. That is to have an add to the annual budget without further discussion with the Board of E&A. And I may be long, but I wanted to let you know how important it is to fight on behalf of good credit in our city, because that is what's good with the city. That is a positive. What other city can say they have a AA credit and have not had it in over 50 years? What other city can you find evidence that can say they finally have good credit with a population such as ours? I challenge you to find that city, unless of course it's Carmel, California, which is a bedroom community with actors as their some of the main residents living there. But you know, we have to be serious, Madam President, about what is going to affect this city positively. And what we know is if we are doing those things like giving to our residents that have chosen to live here, what are we doing about home repair grants? What are we doing about down payments for those who are in apartments that want to purchase homes in our city? Forgivable loans. That's what we should be spending our time on. That's what a campaign would be worthy of. Forgivable loans, for helping citizens to buy energy efficient windows, energy efficient doors. What are we doing to support the people who live here? What are we doing to make sure that the trash pickup is going to be on schedule? What are we doing about potholes being filled when we can get those things done? What about the paving? What about public safety? We have the Office of Crime Prevention. What are we doing to continue to sustain crime prevention? What are we doing to continue to sustain our police department when there are retirements that we know are inevitable? We want to make sure that those classes for the policemen are filled. So if we're going to be doing the work, if we're going to be advocating for citizens, advocate for what's meaningful first. Keep what's meaningful first so that we can continue to have people choose St. Louis City when it comes to living, when it comes to working, and when it comes to making sure that we can support the activity levels that they want to have. Once again, I'll just say the public office, the public advocacy office is non-essential, and we should not have that. We should not allow an add to our annual budget by the alderman without further consultation with the Board of E&A. That is a very strong, I can't emphasize it more, how strong it is to have good quality checks and balances. And that's a strong one. And that is indicated by what the third-party rating agency is saying, not just me, but the rating agencies has called that AAA. And we have earned the AAA resilience is in the category of our policies. We've earned that, which turns out to mean for us a AA credit. I think that we want to sustain that. I wouldn't think that Paul Payne is here. I think he would say that we want to sustain that. Madam Mayor, wouldn't you want to keep the AA credit?
Absolutely. Can we get to AAA?
If we work hard enough and if we can improve what we are offer as a city to our residents so that other people would want to come and move to our city and have those quality of life amenities that our citizens. So we got to work on quality of life amenities for the citizens that live here.
Amen. Any other discussion?
Yes, I do just, I will keep it brief as I know that we all have things this afternoon, but I do want to make sure that if there are accusations being leveled against the Board of Aldermen and our processes, that the record is sent straight. Board Bill 30 went through every process that a board bill typically goes through at the Board of Aldermen. And every member of the Board of Estimate and Apportionment had an appointee on the Charter Commission. And because of that close work of our office with the Charter Commission, we knew that the budget change was one of the priorities that they were more than likely to send forward. And when it changed that these initiatives were going to have to go through the Board of Aldermen, we had to make sure that we had the capacity to do all of this. So we started introducing placeholder bills. We also introduced the Transportation Department bill prior to the final authorization of the Charter Commission to get those bills moving through the process and starting the discussion on them, knowing that we would have a truncated timeline in order to get these on the August ballot. And so when the Charter Commission came back with their final language for Board Bill 30, that board bill was actually amended so that it mirrored the language that the Charter Commission brought to the Board of Aldermen. So I want to make it clear that there were 2, perhaps even 3 hearings on Board Bill 30 before it passed out of committee. And then there was also a motion to reconsider, to bring it back, to amend it, to make sure it was identical to the will of the Charter Commission, and that we have continued to work in partnership with the commission through our seat on that board to make sure that we are a conduit for what their recommendations are and getting them to the ballot, regardless of our personal feelings about an issue or another. And I also just want to make sure that we do recognize that there has been great work in our city done on home repair. We have done, astronomical investments, historical investments under the leadership of our mayor in home repair. Just last week, the mayor's office made clear or announced down payment assistance for folks that were looking to move into the city. The mayor's office has also done incredible funding, historical funding into the Office of Violence Prevention and establishing that office. And so I don't think that these conversations are binary. I think that we can walk and chew gum at the same time, and we can focus on public safety and maintaining our credit rating and home repair and getting more folks into our city, while also making sure that we are staying true to the will of voters and what voters approved through the Charter Commission language by a 60% vote in our city, and not shutting down discussion on it because we have, personal opinions on whether individual items are good or not. I think that those discussions need to be reserved for before this goes to the ballot box, and rather than us being the folks who negate the work of the Charter Commission over the last year and say, thank you for your work, but we know better, so we don't really need you to. We don't need to put your items on the ballot. I don't want us to be doing that. And coming from a branch of government that has seen significant change over the last 2 years, we have decreased the number of members of the Board of Aldermen by half because of a charter change that happened previously. And what we've seen over this last year is we actually passed more pieces of legislation than we did in the previous years with a larger Board of Aldermen. And we've become a more efficient Board of Aldermen, and one that is more responsive and capable of doing public policy. But it didn't come without strife. There were quite a few people who did not want the reduction of the Board of Aldermen up until the very moment that it happened. But voters approved it, and many of us saw that even if we didn't 100% agree with it, we needed to do right by what the voters agreed to at the ballot box. And so we will continue to fight for democracy at the Board of Aldermen. We will continue to fight to allow residents of our city to have a say in what their government looks like, and allow elected representatives to make that case to folks at neighborhood meetings and between now and election day, rather than cutting off any kind of discussion or ability of our community to weigh in before it even gets to the ballot box. And so I just wanted to make it clear that the Board of Aldermen has worked in very close partnership with the Charter Commission throughout this entire throughout the past year, that we have had a seat, an ex officio seat on the Charter Commission, along with every member of ENA and the member of and the chair of the Legislation and Rules Committee, and have, through those partnerships and working groups, made sure that we could be a conduit to work in partnership with the Charter Commission in getting these items to the ballot so that residents can weigh in the way that they requested to do so when they approve the Charter Commission with a 60% vote. So that is it, and I will not keep us here any longer. I just wanted to make sure that it was clear that our no policies were changed, no procedures were changed for Board Bill 30, that it actually went through more deliberation than most board bills go through at the Board of Aldermen in order to make sure we can get this heavy load that was given to us in a very short time frame across the finish line and onto the November ballot as is required by the charter.
Thank you, Madam President, and I do hate to go back and forth, but you forced me in a manner, speaking when you mentioned that it was personal. I don't think saving taxpayers' dollars is personal. It is business. We do this in the Office of the Comptroller on a regular basis by charter that's protecting the city's credit. It is serious business to us, and I will repeat that Board Bill 30 threatens the city's credit. No matter the opinion of others, that having the board to add to the annual budget, which is a different policy, budget policy change, the opinion would cause a threaten to our credit. Period. It would threaten the credit. We know this by experience. So I wanted to make that point that this is not about Comptroller Green's personal opinion, Comptroller Green wanting things not to go to the voters. What Comptroller Green wants is good credit. What Comptroller Green wants is good credit for the city, for the citizens. What Comptroller Green wants is not a continuation of increasing taxes of our citizens so that work can get done. If you have good credit, then the cost is going to automatically be lower. That's been proven over these last 30 years where we have gotten a lot done for our citizens. So I say, let's continue to move forward. Let's identify in real time what works, and good credit works. So whether or not procedures were performed through committees for Board Bill 30, and whether or not it had more than one committee hearing, that is not something I challenged, even though you brought that out. I don't challenge that the procedures were followed. The procedures are followed here today, where each and every member of the Board of E&A has a vote. Each and every member of the Board of Aldermen has a vote. The comptroller has a voice at the Board of Aldermen, but no vote. So I couldn't weigh in by vote on any of these board bills, but I can speak about it. And with the Charter Commission, the offices of E&A had presence at the Charter Commission. The only office that didn't have a vote, and correct me if I'm wrong, was the comptroller's office.
None of us had
Now,
vote.
now let me tell you what I mean by that. There was a vote happening with the selection of the members of the Charter Commission. One vote brought them on or recommended them, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong, but there was a selection process of members of this board that I did not have a vote on. And then, if I'm not mistaken, but I could be wrong again, is that the Board of Aldermen, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, had a vote to sustain the selection and could change where, in other words, the comptroller did not have a vote in choosing any of the members of the Charter Commission. Now, if I'm wrong, then I'm wrong, but members, honorable members, please help me if there was a vote from the board, from this honorable board, for all members of this honorable board to select members, not the operation, Madam President, of the Charter Commission, as you've expressed earlier, and I'm in agreement that there were ex officio positions, but then there were positions prior to the makeup, which is in the charter change itself. The language of the change decided how those commissioners would be added to become commissioners. And the comptroller did not have a selection or a vote in that regard. So I wanted to be clear so that we wouldn't have to go back and forth over what I mean, because voting is what counts when it comes to putting together the commission and how it was set up and who was able to speak and who was able to vote. Of course, you know, it was set up without the comptroller's vote. And that's important to note when I am now fighting so hard to protect the city's credit. And it might be thought, well, why did I wait so long? Well, I did speak to the honorable alderman that authored the bill for the Charter Commission, and she assured me that, of course, they wouldn't present the fact that the office of the comptroller would be eliminated. But then when it came out to be number one and eventually removed, I said, well, that was interesting. And now we are fighting to protect the city's credit, which is a AA for the first time in 50 years. I think that it's, I have to fight. I have no choice. And while you have spoken very eloquently about continuing discussions, I think the discussion is about whether we want our citizens to be able to move forward in a city that has good credit and that credit is based on good budgeting and good financial policies that are in place now that would be threatened by the charter changes.
Thank you. I agree that voting is what counts. So let's allow residents of our city to have a vote. And between now and November, we can have ample discussion about the pros and cons of each of these proposals that are in front of us. Thank you, Madam Comptroller.
Any other items to discuss? Okay, seeing none, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and properly seconded. All those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. We are adjourned.
Thank
Have a
you.
great day, everyone.